There are a few secrets for editing in DaVinci Resolve that completely change the game compared to other video editors, and not enough people talk about them. So I'm going to be showing you those in this video, answering your questions about DaVinci Resolve. First and foremost, why switch? Why did I spend 10 years using Adobe Premiere Pro to then throw that all away and start using DaVinci Resolve? It comes down to three things: speed, stability, and it gets out of my way. DaVinci Resolve outperforms Adobe Premiere Pro both in terms of playing back footage and rendering it, timeline scrubbing, all of that, like an exponential way that I can't even begin to describe. DaVinci Resolve, especially the studio versions, decode engine, utilizing your GPU and your VRAM is leagues beyond Adobe's 30-year-old legacy tech they have built into Premiere Pro, and it is just mind-blowing. On top of the fact that I very rarely have a crash that wasn't something that I was doing that I knew would probably cause it to crash. Meanwhile, every time I open up Premiere Pro, even today, just tinkering with projects that the editor I have editing tutorials and stuff messes with, it's bad. It's unstable. It crashes. It doesn't want to play footage. It can't play them back at a competent, speed. It's a nightmare. Now, Premiere has the advantage of this, customizable UI with the CEF panels and being able to put all these modules everywhere, and the ability, you have more freedom to map out your custom hotkeys with auto hotkey. I used to have an entire desk full of custom keypads and keyboards before the Stream Deck even came out, of all of my macros for Premiere Pro and things like that. And I really thought I would have trouble getting used to not having those, or, I would miss them when I go back, and I just don't. Resolve gets out of my way. I don't think about the editor itself. I don't have to hack all these workarounds into it. I just edit, and it just breezes by, and it makes my life so much easier. Question number 2 is any helpful resources for switching. If you're switching from Vegas or Premiere or whatever, 3 channels to learn DaVinci Resolve: Casey Ferris, Patrick Sterling, and Mr. Alex Tech. They produce incredible content. Casey Ferris focuses more on the new user, like, here's how to use Resolve, here's how to use the color tab, here's how to do this specific effect kind of thing. Mr. Alex Tech goes a little bit more in depth with how to do specific effects and cool tips and tricks. And then Patrick Sterling, my boy, makes awesome Fusion presets and shows you how to use the Fusion tab to really make your graphics and to make cool effects and to really take control over DaVinci Resolve. We also have a Resolve tutorials text channel in our Discord server at discord.gg/EposVox if you want to keep up to date with tutorials and things like that, and share your own as well. I'm EposVox, the Stream Professor. Those were my first 2 questions that I'm answering of yours about DaVinci Resolve. We have quite a few to go here. I posted on Twitter and on the YouTube community tab asking what video editing and Resolve questions you had, and there were so many. I split them up between the previous video, which is just about video editing in general, and this one, which is about DaVinci Resolve. Stay tuned soon, as I will have a full masterclass of DaVinci Resolve coming soon, probably exclusive to Nebula at first. I'm very excited. Following up on that second question, which is my biggest tip for switching to DaVinci Resolve from another video editor, and that is to map the hotkeys you're used to using into Resolve. It is so common for people to get so caught up in what button to press and their muscle memory doesn't work or whatever. There is no reason to let that be a roadblock to your video editing. You already have to learn a new workflow, a new UI, new effects, whatever. Don't let hotkeys get in the way. Just take, screenshot, write down whatever the hotkeys you use in your current video editor the most often and go put them into DaVinci Resolve instead of trying to learn the new ones. There is no benefit to trying to learn the new ones. So for me, for example, the big ones that I have mapped in here that I use a lot is I have the keys S and D set to zoom in and out of the timeline, because I do a lot of that where I need to punch in so I can make precise cuts or find specific, keyframes or whatever, and then I punch out so I can see the bigger timeline and keep moving along. I have mapped those features to S and D, which is what I used in Premiere. Those are not Premiere's default shortcuts, but they're what I use, and I keep them consistent across all video editors. That way my muscle memory of zooming in with that is not going to start opening up other, effects and things like that. I have mapped the blade tool to cut clips to C, because again, that's what I was used to in Premiere, and the normal select tool to V. The last big one that I use regularly is I have mapped ripple delete, which is deleting, a clip and then moving everything in to fill that space, to F. Those are the ones that I use the most often and that I keep consistent across every video editor that I use. Question number 3 was just calling for useful tips and tricks in general. And I'm going to say, especially if you're not used to Resolve's workflow or used to the heavy preset ability of Adobe Premiere Pro, which was the big learning curve for me, was you can set a preset for just about anything in Premiere Pro, and you cannot create presets for very many things in DaVinci Resolve, at least the way you think. The way that I have found to do it is to, first and foremost, use power bins. We're going to talk about those in a minute, but it'll all make sense once I explain that in a couple tips. Save favorite effects with the little star, and then use adjustment layers where you would typically use presets. So if you've set up your motion settings, or you're zooming in, you're applying an effect or whatever, and you want to preserve those settings, use an adjustment layer instead, and then you can either just lay that over your footage and treat it as if you applied it directly, or you can copy and paste those attributes to the clip that you need, and it's basically like applying a preset. Those are my big 3 tips that are going to save you a ton of time, and it's going to make sense once we talk about power bins in a moment. Had a couple questions asking if I used Fairlight to record audio. I don't personally, because typically, like in a video like this, I'm literally just recording my audio in OBS, or if I'm doing a bigger on-camera video out in the studio, it's recorded into an audio recorder. I don't do a whole lot of just, I already have footage and I'm recording voiceover for it, but that is totally possible if you want to do it, and Fairlight has its own suite of effects, plus it can use VST plugins, so you can totally do that, and I'm going to switch to the screen to show you how to do that now. All right, for a second, let's pretend that this is your gameplay or something you want to do voiceover. This is just the A-roll of the video I'm editing right now, but that's fine. If you want to record your own voiceover within DaVinci Resolve, you can't do it on the edit page, as far as I know. You got to go over here to the Fairlight tab. If you have text labels on, it'll say Fairlight. Otherwise, it's just the music icon. And here, you're in the audio tab. Now, the cool thing about the audio tab is that it is entirely focused on audio. The bad thing is, you can't actually see the tracks for the video that you're working on. You can come over here to view and you can see some extra things, which is pretty cool. But if we just hit play right now, there we go. Now we got some video up here in the top right-hand corner. So now we can arm ourselves to actually record audio. But first and foremost, you want to make sure you have the correct... There's actually, I will say, we're not actually overdubbing this, but if you want to overdub it, there is specifically an ADR setup where you can queue up and like insert it how you want to do, just like you would in music or in dialogue recording for TV shows. We're not messing with that right now. We're just recording a voiceover track. So first and foremost, you want to make sure you're using your right audio devices. Go to DaVinci Resolve Preferences, Video and Audio I/O. And here you'll want to change your microphone to your correct microphone, regardless of what it thinks Windows is using. Click Save. All right, once you have chosen your microphone in the DaVinci Resolve Preferences, you might want to restart just to be good to go. But you need to actually come through here to your mixer section. If you don't see it in the top right here, you got a little mixer toggle. Find the track you want to record on, which should be an empty one, and come where it says No Input, and choose Input. And there, you want to choose your microphone. So I'm actually just going to choose this one for the left side. If you have stereo microphone, you can choose both. Mine only comes in on the left anyway. And click Patch. And see, by choosing the one, it patches that to both left and right tracks on this audio track, which is actually pretty cool. Then you can close this menu. Once you get to the point in the video that you want to start recording your voiceover with, for your B-roll or what have you, you just click the record button down here in the play controls. And boom. Now we're recording a voiceover directly into DaVinci Resolve, synced up to our audio footage. This is great if you want to narrate a presentation, a story-driven narrative. If you want to do overdubbing, the ADR tool will give you more fine-tuned control of that, but you can do it here. Or if you're doing gaming videos, you can play your gameplay right here and record your audio in reaction to it. My only big complaint here is, at least personally, I don't know how to show the video tracks for it, which can make it a little annoying to figure out where you are if you have like an edit going. But otherwise, you can see the video playing, so you can just record it as you go and have synced up real-time, edits. And then you click stop. It's going to process your audio. Of course, this is going to be recorded completely uncompressed because that's how it do. And you have your audio track right here. I'm going to unmute my desktop audio now. A voiceover directly into DaVinci Resolve, synced up to our audio footage. Oh, that sounds amazing. Of course, from there, you can apply different effects and things like that. You have your effects tool in the top left. You've got your baked-in effects, you've got VST effects, and you can apply them both to the track itself, and the tracks themselves also have dynamics and effects over here as well, or you can apply it to the individual clips.
We interrupt your regularly scheduled programming to tell you that your quest for gaming and streaming PC hardware is over.
Every video, countless viewers rush out to upgrade their streaming PCs or get a new PC for gaming and streaming, only to discover that trying to buy a graphics card online is like trying to get a 4K TV on Black Friday. It's a mess. Java makes that easy, however. Java has some of the best PC builders in the country, building unique, customized PCs that you won't find anywhere else. You can choose a PC based on your budget for optimal price to performance or based on your gaming and streaming needs. Java makes it easy up front with their casual, hardcore, and pro gamer categories. But if you're not sure what you want or you want to fine-tune from there, Java's team of experts can help recommend the best build for you. Plus, they're super accessible via email or Discord. Or maybe you want to build your own PC instead. Java also has great deals on PC parts in their marketplace. Head to the link below and save 10% up to $50 with coupon code EposVox at checkout. No more comments about not being able to find PC components. Find them on Java.
The next question was how to reuse elements across projects. A lot of people with Premiere Pro, because it doesn't have this feature I'm about to tell you about, set up template projects. And I tried doing that for a long time, and it was absolutely hell because I'd always end up accidentally saving over the project, or you'd have to remap everything for where you wanted to go. And it just didn't work for my workflow. If you make like a news video, the same video every week or something like that, where the format really doesn't change and your timing's probably the same too, template projects work great. Otherwise, you need to utilize a feature in DaVinci Resolve called Power Bins. Power Bins save with your DaVinci Resolve database, which is just basically like a big, grouping of your projects that you can organize and things like that. Power Bins, you can add anything to. You can add your own footage. You can add your own graphics, assets that you have stored to to files on your hard drive or network storage or whatever. You can add those to the Power Bins, and those will be made available across every single project. But not only that, you can drag anything you have created in Resolve into a Power Bin as well. So if you use Fusion to create a lower third or a title slide or just an overlay text or a graphic that you want to use, you can drag that to the Power Bin from one project and then bring it in another project. And then you still have the full flexibility to edit that and adapt it to your needs right there in the editor without having to render it out or anything like that. You can drag text, you can drag Fusion effects, you can drag adjustment layers, which goes back to our previous tip. Instead of needing, using presets for the inspector panel or things like that, you can apply those settings to an adjustment layer, drag it to your Fusion bin, give it a name, what you would normally name the preset, and then you can either drag it over top your footage, or you can copy and paste those attributes to your footage and effectively use it as a preset. It is a different mindset, a different headspace to get your head into, but once you do, it unlocks so much potential by having all of this available across your different projects. Now, I use this heavily because I have a ton of lower thirds and music and things like that I sync across my projects. I will say be careful. The more you nest folders in the Power Bin folder, the more likely they are to get overwritten. This is a bug I've been tracking since version, I want to say late 15, but maybe early version 16, in that if I have a bunch of folders inside folders in the Power Bins folder, eventually some of those get overwritten with just like random folders from either the user manual or the program files or something. It's incredibly frustrating every time it happens because I set up color labels and everything too, and I have to redo all of that. But any of my dedicated just like root folder stuff, I've never had that issue with. Also had a couple questions about how much I use Fusion. If you're unaware, Resolve is not just a video editor. Like you have Premiere Pro, which is mainly just a video editor. Resolve is a media organizer, a video editor, a color grading suite, one that's used on movies and TV shows, even when they're using different video editors. It's a digital audio workstation with what's called Fairlight. It is a motion graphics tool with Fusion. Fusion is integrated. Fusion's also available as its own standalone thing if you want the full expanded feature, but Fusion is a motion graphics and node-based workflow tool that you can use to generate effects, transitions, build your own motion graphics, animate, do green screening, do just about anything you want, basically like a replacement for After Effects. Now, I still use After Effects for some of my animation work, like the cool robot head and some of the glitch art stuff I do. I just have a lot of plugins that are After Effects exclusive because Fusion's still kind of new. The ecosystem's kind of young. There's not a whole lot of that stuff, nor the tutorial, library of content going back 30 years available for Fusion yet. So I do a lot of my animation stuff in After Effects just because it's faster and I have the specialized tools for it. But you can do just about anything you can do in After Effects in Fusion. And it runs faster. You just have to learn a completely different workflow because it's based on nodes, which is basically like a big non-destructive workflow rather than layers stacked on top of each other. It is very, like I said, it is an entirely different philosophy and I don't know the right word, but an entire different way of doing things. But it is incredibly powerful. And again, if you're looking for tutorials on building anything from super basic stuff to really advanced cool stuff in Fusion, Patrick Sterling's your guy. Go check out his videos. We've had him on the channel before, probably will again. Another feature that I mentioned Resolve supports is VSTs, and that does mean technically you should be able to use the VoiceFX VST that builds in NVIDIA Broadcast to use background noise removal. I've never really gotten it working in Resolve for some reason. It doesn't even work properly in Adobe Audition sometimes, but I've never really gotten it working in DaVinci Resolve, and that is unfortunate because it would be really handy to have. Zaymar has just said something about VST hosts being broken and it's not his fault. I don't know that I believe that because every other VST seems to work fine. But you can use plenty of other VSTs. So I've generated entire synth tracks using the manipulator VST inside DaVinci Resolve. It's pretty cool. The last big question I got here, other than specifics like show my workflow and those kinds of things, which we'll cover soon because that'll need to be its own video, that I got about DaVinci Resolve was when it comes to removing a background without a green screen. That is called rotoscoping. Now, After Effects, as of 2020-ish, has a new rotoscope based on their Adobe Sensei AI that is mind-bogglingly amazing. And I used it in my custom microphone video to put the text behind the background and do the neon outlines. Really cool stuff. DaVinci Resolve does actually have a rotoscoping tool. I don't believe it's quite as good, which is unfortunate because I'd be using it all the time if it was as handy. But we're going to switch to the desktop and cover that just a tiny bit here. When I originally recorded this tutorial saying I would show you how to do rotoscoping in Fusion, I didn't realize just how far behind it still was. I thought it had gotten a big 17 update in DaVinci Resolve 17. I don't think it did, so I've messed around with it for a couple projects, but it's honestly not fun. I would recommend using the new rotoscoper in After Effects whenever possible instead. However, I will point you to this tutorial from Casey Ferris from this December where he shows you kind of how to do it. Like, there are roto tools. Well, kind of. Just watch his video. He explains it. I would say don't do it for now. I know that's not the answer I should give, but it's not good. So I apologize to completely contradict myself here. If you found this helpful, if you found it piquing your interest when it comes to video editing or using DaVinci Resolve, fear not. We have a lot more content on video editing coming soon. It's been a little while since I touched it. I wanted to refresh some of my videos, and I'm working on a mini masterclass for DaVinci Resolve as well. That'll be coming soon, but the biggest question to round off this video that I kept getting over and over was how to optimize either Premiere or Resolve or whatever video so that it ran faster, loaded footage faster, or allowed you to edit faster. And I have these two videos right here. One on optimizing DaVinci Resolve and one on optimizing Adobe Premiere Pro. And they're kind of old, but 99% of everything still applies. And you need to go check them out if you're a video editor, because you need to be using these things. Remember, be kind, rewind.